My name is Shawna and I am a breast cancer survivor. At the age of 35, 8 years ago, I went to the gynecologist for my annual checkup, and he said I'd like to do a baseline mammogram for all my patients when they turn 35. Because it took them forever and I had a baseball game to get to for my son, I snuck out and didn't have the mammogram done. The next year, when I went for my next annual checkup, he said, "Don't think I didn't notice you didn't have that done. It's very important to have your mammogram." So he rushed me in and had it done, and a few weeks later, I received a letter scheduling a biopsy. And I called my doctor and said, "What is this about me having a biopsy?" And they said, "Oops, you were supposed to get a phone call." They found some mysterious calcifications in my left breast and wanted to do a biopsy just to make sure. They said, "Don't worry about it. 9 out of 10 times, it's fine. You're young, you're fit, you're active, you're a non-smoker, all the things. Don't worry. This is just for a precautionary measure." So at the hospital, when I got the biopsy, they did many mammograms, and after the biopsy told me what my options were going to be if this were cancer. And in hindsight, my mom says that is what let her know that I did indeed have breast cancer. I just didn't think that I could ever have breast cancer because of all the reasons I listed before. So I just let it go right over my head and went about my business. And then the next day, I was with other baseball moms picking up food for our boys, and I got a phone call from the surgeon, and she said, "I'm sorry to have to tell you that you have breast cancer." And I just blacked out. Everything that she said after that was just white noise. And I was crying, and the mothers in front of me were, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I just couldn't even tell them. Couldn't even form words. I had a family member who lived in that town, and she just came to get me. And she took me home, and I have a very big family, and they all congregated at my house that day, just mind blown, because we just could not imagine that I would have breast cancer. My daddy had stage 4 esophageal cancer just a few years before that, twice. So it's not that we were strangers to cancer, but we just never fathomed that I would have it. A few weeks later, I had a bilateral mastectomy, and because I was tested BRCA2, yes, positive, that is the cancer mutation gene, they said I had to have a hysterectomy, and that was not in my plans because I had wanted to have more children. I only had one. So June 21st, 2012, I had a bilateral mastectomy. In October, I had reconstructive surgery. November, I had a complete hysterectomy and oophorectomy, which just means that they took your ovaries out. Complications from those surgeries put me to bed for a few months. And all this time I was trying to be a mother and a kindergarten teacher. After being on bed rest in March of 2013, I was finally done with reconstructive surgery and able to recuperate from the repercussions of those surgeries, the side effects from having cancer, and tried to begin my normal life, or what had been my new normal. And let me just tell you, you don't ever get over it. Every pain you have, every feeling of there's something that's just not right, your first thought is, it's back. Because I was so touched by having breast cancer and being a part of a club that you never wanted to be a member of, I started joining Facebook groups and organizations that supported breast cancer research. One of those is Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. And my little town that had rallied around me when I got sick, they made t-shirts. My son's baseball team had pink laces on their cleats, and they put breast cancer ribbons on the football field and the baseball fields, and just really tried to make me feel supported and loved. We got together and we raised the most money that Making Strides had ever received from an individual. And I just couldn't have been more proud. I think we raised $64,000, which I just had no idea we had raised that much money until they announced it over the intercom at the walk. It was the most terrible time almost in my life, but again, the surrounding businesses and our little town just made me feel so welcome and supported, and they let me know that this is not a death sentence. After about 5 years, 6 years after I had been diagnosed and beat it and had resumed my normal life, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and even though it was not connected to me at all, she is not positive for the cancer gene mutation. My daddy is. Her cancer was the exact kind that I had, except that hers had spread. So she also had to have a bilateral mastectomy, and we found out July 31st, my birthday, last year. She had surgery a few months later and is now navigating reconstruction and trying to get her life back in order. But she's great. She's cancer-free. I'm cancer-free. Even though you're not the same after, everything is different about your physical, mental, and emotional self. The whole situation has just made me into a stronger and more resilient person, as my daddy and as it did for my mother too. So if you are diagnosed with breast cancer, cancer of any kind, but I can only speak for breast cancer because it's the kind I had, just know that this is not a death sentence. You have to have a positive attitude. You have to rely on your loved ones around you. Have faith and confidence in your doctor and do whatever it takes to beat it, and you will. I was frankly floored. I could not believe that a male-oriented career was concerned with breast cancer research, and it blew me away. It just let you know that even though there's like a 2% chance that men can get breast cancer, but they do. But these men, the people who are in charge of this company, they've had mothers, grandmothers, aunts, uncles, girlfriends, wives, daughters who have had to deal with this, and they realize the importance of research and updating our technology, and that cannot be done unless they have monetary means to do so. Continued support from big business. And so to know that this male-oriented company found that it was so important to donate their profits to this for the month of October, it made me want to go buy pink tools from Matco. If I saw a company that had pink creepers, pink toolboxes, or pink tools, it would make me feel warm and welcome and make me want to do business with them more, because they obviously, putting manliness aside, care more about letting breast cancer survivors and breast cancer patients know that they are supported, and that they know how important it is to give monetary means and help the breast cancer research. It made me want to come back, and I do. Well, I obviously have my own, and I'm a hugger. The first thing I would do was run over to him and say, "Hey, I have a shirt like yours," and thank him for helping to donate towards research for breast cancer. And of course, I would give him a hug. Well, first and foremost, I would say thank you. Thank you for caring about something that is so personal to me and personal to millions of women, caring enough to donate your profits to help find a cure. You just don't know how much that means to us, because even though I've won my fight, doesn't mean that it's not going to come back. And it doesn't mean that it's not going to come back or not going to affect many, many other men and women. And to know that you are actively donating to help find a cure is just, I'm not sure I can find the words to express my gratitude. Well, I was introduced to the concept by my good friends Shiloh and Clay Coon. They told me about Matco's cool tools for a cause. Right about the time that my mother had been diagnosed, they wanted to buy her a shirt just to let her know that they're thinking about her, and of course they had to buy me one too. Once I heard about it, I had to do my own research, and it made me want to go out and buy Matco tools. It made me want to support the business because they are so supportive of us. They care enough to do away with that manly persona enough to have a pink creeper and use pink tools. And let me tell you, I am jealous of people who have pink creepers and pink toolboxes. I want it all. I want a pink toolbox so bad.